Last year, in 2022, IBM rolled out a cutting-edge new archive system that it promised to be the next generation of storage technology. The weird thing is, this shiny new box is filled with this stuff, and while this stuff might also be shiny, it's far from new. In fact, next to paper punch cards, this magnetic tape is the oldest form of computer storage technology that exists. It's the same stuff that you'd find inside a VHS cassette, a technology so antiquated that it predates the polio vaccine and Pierce Brosnan. But over the past few years, out of the blue, the amount of data being stored on this sort of ancient tape actually started to go up, while hard drive sales started to tank. And there's a pretty good reason for this, but to understand why tape storage came out of retirement to become the storage technology of the future, we need to talk about how this industry evolved in the first place. When tape storage first came around, computers looked like this, people looked like this, and the calendar looked like this. It was the 1950s, and at the time, there wasn't really much data to store. Computers like the IBM 704 could only be used as calculators or as a means to simulate what would happen if a dog tried to play chess. No one was storing photos or video games or massive archives of consumer data. They really just needed to store short strings of text. And those short strings of text got stored on this stuff. Now I'm going to do a quick technical explanation of how tape storage works, but for those of you who aren't interested, I will have my editors put a clown in the corner of the screen doing a little dance to keep you entertained. Basically, the tape would be split up into a number of tracks, usually 7 or 9, and each track would be divided into little magnetically charged sections. Depending on which way a section was magnetized, it would read 1 or 0, and reading all the tracks at once would give you a full 6 or 8-bit character. The more sections per tape, the more characters could fit on that tape. Got it? Good. Well, by the end of the 1950s, tape storage was already being phased out for a newer, sexier storage technology, hard drives. Now, hard drives actually work pretty similarly to tape storage. Put the clown back on screen for a second. Basically, information is stored by charging the magnetic field on little sections of a piece of metal, but instead of it being a long linear tape, it was a spinning disk. There's generally a lot less surface area on a hard drive disk, but the fact that it's constantly spinning means that accessing information on any part of it is usually a lot faster, just a couple of milliseconds versus upwards of a minute to find the right place on a spool of magnetic tape. Faster data storage access means faster programs, and faster programs means way more fun video games, so hard drives pretty quickly became the standard for consumer technology, and tape storage got shoved in a dark hole somewhere. Over the next few decades, a whole lot more money got poured into developing better hard drives, which meant making the little magnetic bits smaller and smaller so that you could fit more of them on a single disk. For a long time, we were really good at this. The nerds were cramming an average of 40% more bits on the disks every single year and making them faster and cheaper all the while. If you compare a hard drive from today with our 50s era drives, they can fit 650 million times more data per square inch, and they can do it about 3.5 billion times cheaper. Good job, nerds! But now we've got a bit of a problem. Hard drives aren't getting much better. Instead of 40% annual gains, we're seeing more like 10 to 15%. And the reason for that, like technically the reason for everything, is physics. You see, the smaller the bits on the drive get, the weaker a magnetic signal they give off because of that classic electromagnetic principle, big magnet strong. But once the bits get too small, the signals become too weak and the whole thing blends together into one big fuzzy mess. That size is called the superparamagnetic limit, and it turns out we've already reached it. The biggest hard drive on the market today tops out at 22 terabytes, and until God releases Magnets 2, they're not going to get a whole lot better. Now, 22 terabytes sounds like a lot, and if you're just storing normal people's stuff, it is a lot, but for massive multinational corporations, it's a bit of a problem. Every single year, we're producing about 21% more data than the previous year. More websites, more videos, more consumer data, more Google Docs where I've just typed the letter H and forgotten why I started that doc in the first place, but won't delete it and will make Google keep that in their servers for the next 4 decades. All of that has to be stored somewhere. That means we need a storage technology that can keep up, and it turns out that technology is, it's tape. That was the whole point of the video. So remember how tape works pretty similarly to hard drives, but instead of cramming all the data on a 3-inch disk, it has like 1,000 yards of this stuff to work with? Well, it turns out that can actually be a huge advantage. Because if you get tape even close to the kind of density you see on modern hard drives, there's like thousands of times more surface area to work with. And because tape storage was hardly getting any investment for all these decades, it isn't even close to the superparamagnetic limit, so it's just gonna keep getting better. Theoretically, tape storage should be able to get to almost 200 gigabytes per inch, which at 1,140 meters per tape means that a little drive like this could be able to hold 9,000 terabytes. And while hard drives are still much faster to read, when it comes to massive archives with thousands of terabytes worth of data that you're rarely gonna touch, that doesn't really matter. Plus, tape storage lasts longer than hard drives when just sitting on a shelf, is way less susceptible to ransomware, and is also just way cheaper than everything else. So I guess the point is, going forward, all of the data that Amazon is collecting about how you might need a new phone case is probably not going to be on a box that looks like this. It's going to be on a slightly different box that looks like this. But it's interesting because the different box is old. Was that useful? Who knows? But here's something that is useful. You're spending too much money on coffee. I know it, you know it, no one wants to admit it, but it's true. For some reason, we've all come to accept that a cup of coffee costs like $7 because cafes have the good beans and they're just holding us all financially hostage. But what if I told you that you could be brewing curated cafe quality coffee right at home without even knowing anything about coffee? Well, I'm telling you that because you can just by signing up for Trade Coffee. Trade uses a proprietary algorithm to curate the perfect coffee for you, roast it fresh to order, and delivers it right to your doorstep. With over 450 different coffees on hand, all sourced from the best local indie roasters around, Trade makes it easy to discover new flavors and make your morning coffee an experience rather than just a necessity. Lately, I've been enjoying Oran's Special Blend, which Trade determined works well over ice and is roasted to take cream, both of which I enjoy because I drink my coffee like a tiny little baby. So if you want to find the coffee that works for you, I would totally recommend signing up for Trade. And now's the time too, because right now, Trade is offering HAI viewers a free bag of fresh coffee with any subscription just by signing up at drinktrade.com/HAI, and you'll be supporting HAI while you do it.